walks away after winning his 100th game as the head coach here at Notre Dame.
The reason I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I was born in this country. It isn't what you have, it's what you're taught about the values of life.
We trying to save souls.
See, there's a rule in life that said you're either growing or you're dying. And like an old friend once said, we as Americans need to start winning again.
Everyone should ask this question. Am I willing to endure the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice it takes to be a champion?
Greetings and welcome to the Lou Holtz podcast. We're blessed today to have an outstanding guest, and yet I don't have any makeup on, I don't have makeup on us, I have nothing. But that does not diminish how pleased and proud we are to have with us today Lara Trump. Let me give you a little bit of background about her, but it might take a while because she has achieved so much. Lara Trump is a prominent figure in American politics, a television personality, and dedicated advocate for family and conservative values. Widespread recognition as the host of The Right View, a website series was launched in 2020. The show, which features a panel of conservative women discussing politics and cultural topics, has garnered a large following and allows Lara to engage with a diverse audience. Before venturing into politics, Lara Trump made her mark as a producer and story coordinator for the CBS television show Inside Edition. Her experience in the field of media honed her skills as a communicator and provided a strong foundation for her subsequent endeavors, including working as a contributor at Fox News. Lara played a crucial role in the Trump campaign during the 2016 presidential election, where she actively campaigned for her father-in-law and served as a surrogate on various media outlets. As a native of North Carolina, Lara played a prominent role in the campaign efforts throughout the state, resulting in a victory for Donald Trump. Her impact continued in the 2020 presidential election, where she served as a senior advisor to the Trump campaign. Lara's strategic insight, eloquence, and ability to connect with the American people made her an invaluable asset for the campaign. In addition to her political pursuits, Lara Trump is very passionate about animal rescue and adoption. She regularly donates her time and prominent positions to help raise money for the awareness for the American shelter of animals. Lara Trump continued to make her mark, advocating for conservative values and championing causes inside close to her heart. With her charisma, intelligence, and the dedication, Lara Trump has emerged as a respected voice within the Republican Party and a role model for many. Lara lives in Florida with her husband Eric, their two children, Luke and Carolyn, and their dogs, Charlie, Ben, and Tiger. We're blessed today to have an outstanding guest, Lara Trump. How flattered and honored we are. And there's just some questions I have to ask you off the top of my head. How is the family reacting to the assassination? Because we have never been through anything like this. What does the family react? Where do you go? What do you say? What do you do?
Oh, well, it's been a time, Coach. I'll tell you that. I don't think anything prepares you for what we've all sort of been through, obviously as a family, but really as a country in the past less than 72 hours. We're grateful. We're truly grateful to God, and I think that if there's anything that we saw on Saturday night in Butler, Pennsylvania, it's that God exists, God performs miracles, and he showed us one on that stage that night. It's really incredible. We're blessed, and I think that for my father-in-law, this has just confirmed now more than ever that he is exactly where he needs to be. He's doing exactly what he needs to be doing. He is focused, he's determined, and he's ready to become the 47th president of the United States. So obviously it was a terrifying moment for us as a family. Eric and I watched it in real time, And to the family of the father and husband who was murdered on Saturday, we are just, our hearts go out to the entire family. It's a tragedy that never should have happened. And, I hope that the one thing we can all get out of this is that we can unify. And I think that is going to be the bulk of the message that you hear on Thursday night from Donald Trump here at this convention. Unity, going forward as a country. We all want this country to be great. Nobody more so than Donald Trump. He wants to fight for that country and fight for his opportunity to bring us greatness once again. And I just, as a daughter-in-law and as the mom to his grandchildren, I am so, so grateful.
4 years ago, I spoke at the same exact platform at the same exact spot. I'm a big fan of President Trump and always have been because of things he believes in. Now, yesterday he announced the wonderful vice president pick of JD Vance. Now, being an Ohio boy and having coached at Ohio State and have him graduate from there, that's always exciting.
Yeah.
But I know he'll do great things for the country. Can you share with us a little bit about what you believe that JD will bring to the ticket?
Oh my gosh! Well, his life story, for anyone who knows about it, is really incredible. I mean, he truly has seen so much in a very short amount of time. He's obviously young. He's 39 years old, and I think that's great. That's what we want. We want the future of this party to go on, and we want to see that you have somebody who's going to be alongside Donald Trump, who really changed the face of politics and changed the Republican Party. He wants that mantle carried on into the future, and JD certainly would be a person to do that. I think they're very similar in a lot of ways, but I also think that JD, having started where he did, coming from a very poor family, coming from a family who had to deal with substance abuse, he can relate to a lot of the struggles of people in this country right now. And I think he kind of brings more of that and everyday Americans into this role now as a running mate, and I believe the future vice president. And I think he's going to complement Donald Trump very well. Somebody asked me last night, they said, is he too much like Donald Trump? And I said, can you have too much Donald Trump? Is that even possible, Coach? Of course, the answer for me is no. But I think you're looking at the future of the Republican Party and the future of our country when you look at JD Vance. And I think that's exactly why my father-in-law chose him. He's obviously an incredibly smart guy. He's obviously a great spokesperson for so many different causes that my father-in-law has championed, and I think you'll continue to see that on the campaign trail. And once they're both in the White House, I think they're going to be a great team, and I'm really excited for this pick.
Well, being an Ohio native, I followed his progress and his success, graduating from Ohio State, as well as I think it's Yale Law School. The list goes on and on. Now, you're truly an all-American woman. You're a mother, a wife, a podcast host, a businesswoman, and now the co-chairman of the RNC. Lara, how do you manage to do all this, and what advice do you have to other women that want to do it all?
Well, Coach, I don't sleep a lot right now, if I'm being really honest with you. I think that I probably, like a lot of moms out there, a lot of parents out there, I feel like I am always kind of going after the loose ends. Like, I never feel like everything is fully done, but everything gets done. And you know what? I think that the thing that I hope right now in terms of my position at the RNC, which I'm honored to have and truly just blown away by how incredible it is to be at this organization and be part of this team.
The question is on the election of Lara Trump as co-chairman of the Republican National Committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and Lara Trump is elected as co-chairman of the Republican National Committee.
I know how important this role is, and it is truly an honor to be here to work alongside all of you. You know, I hope that one day my kids, of course, I hope are proud of me and the work that I'm doing, but I hope that it actually shows them that you should go after things that are, you know, for you, and you should pursue your dreams, and you should work hard. and do whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, as you said, I do a lot of things, and I hope that I do them all well. Sometimes I feel like I can only give a certain piece of the pie to everything. But you know what? I just focus on the task at hand in that moment. Sometimes it's week to week, sometimes it's day to day, sometimes it's literally hour to hour. But I think that's how a lot of parents have to deal with life, and I'm truly no different than that. I'm very lucky that I have a great mom who is with my kids a lot when I can't physically be there. Obviously, this role right now is very time consuming and very demanding, and over the next several months it will continue to be that way. But truly, I'm doing it for them. You know, I took this role because I want to make a difference, and I never want to look back and say, man, I wonder what would have happened if I had pursued becoming co-chair of the RNC. I wonder if I could have made a change in the way people view Donald Trump or people's votes this upcoming election. And truly, it's for the future of this country. So I'm honored to do it. I'm excited for what's in store for the rest of this convention, for the rest of this campaign season, and of course for the future of this country. And to play a small role in it is truly an honor.
I always say to myself, what's important now? The word win. What's important now? Evaluate the past, focus on the future, but tell you what you have to do in the present. I know you have a lot of things coming at you. Did you ever imagine you would be co-chair of the RNC? And how did you get into politics other than through Donald?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really through my father-in-law. You know, a lot of people say, were your parents very political? I mean, I knew my parents were conservative, and I knew they voted generally for Republicans, but they were not overtly political. And I probably, like a lot of people, Coach, really got involved in politics was because of Donald Trump. You know, when he came down the golden escalator, I mean, that was the moment a lot of people said, wait a minute, I better start paying attention to what's going on here. And whether you loved Donald Trump or you didn't love Donald Trump, he certainly reinvigorated people's interest in something that I think is so important.
Whoa, that is some group of people, thousands. So nice, thank you very much. That's really nice, thank you.
And that's really how I got into it. Did I ever think I'd be the co-chair of the RNC? Coach, I'd be lying if I told you that I did. And in fact, whenever my father-in-law initially asked me, I was kind of caught off guard. And he was so incredible in the things that he said. And he said, listen, you're the right person for this job. I think that we need you there, and I think this is the right role for you. And, you know, my father-in-law is one of these people who you've heard probably from others, but I can truly attest to it, oftentimes sees things within people they don't even see in themselves. And that's been the case for me more times than I can count, and I would say especially with this role. So I never imagined I'd be here. I'm doing everything I can to make everything free, fair, and transparent with our elections, make sure that on November 5th, Coach, we are going to go to bed early because we're having an early call for Donald Trump being reelected as our 47th president.
Oh, that's great. There's no way you say no to Donald Trump. That's been my experience now. Beyond your political and charitable work, you're also a devoted mother to your beautiful children. What core values do you prioritize in raising your children, and how do you install these values in them? Because that's the most important role we have, is to be a parent and teach our children to make good choices. That's by far the most important role we have, and that's why I have so much admiration for President Trump, because a guy told me years ago, Coach, I don't care how many championships you win, if you aren't successful as a father, you have failed. And when I look at President Trump's children, I have to be so impressed. But how have you been able to get across the values to them?
Oh, it is the most important. Look, the most important title that I have now and will ever have is the title of mom. And, you know, the idea that I get to impact the life and the lives, because I have two kids. I have a 4-year-old daughter, Carolina, and a 6-year-old son, Luke. The idea that you get to help shape and mold a human being, I don't take that lightly. Eric doesn't take that lightly. And to your point, Donald Trump raised some incredible children. And you can say a lot of things about this man, but you cannot diminish what he has been able to do as a father. And I think, you know, some of the things that Eric and I talk about a lot, it always comes back, it seems, to work ethic. I think there is a lack of work ethic and people really willing to work hard right now in our younger generations. Everything seems to be made easier, standards are lowered or kind of done away with altogether. It's really why I wrote a children's book called, Coach, The Never Give Up Pup. It really is about teaching kids the value of hard work and how much better it feels to achieve something having worked hard for it. I know that's something that my parents instilled in me that I am so grateful to have, because look, I wouldn't be able to do any of the things that I'm doing if it weren't for the work ethic that I really feel like I got directly from my parents. And now I want to pass that along to my children as well. Of course, I want to teach them to love God. I think that is something that is also lacking in our society. Eric and I, every single night before we go to bed, even in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we'll FaceTime our kids and say prayers with them. And it's something that I know my parents did with me, his parents did with him, and we want to carry that tradition on for our kids. I think, we need to get back to a little bit more of our Judeo-Christian values as a society, and certainly through our children, we're trying to instill that in them. And quite frankly, I just want to raise kind and functional adults. And I think that, it's really, I'll report back in 15 years or so, Coach, and I'll let you know how it all turns out. But I really want them to be good, hard workers, to understand the things that matter, to have great values like I grew up with, and teach them to love God. And I think if you have all those things, you can take on the world, and that's the plan.
What's been the most rewarding aspect of your motherhood so far, and how's it influenced your approach to your professional and personal life? And I want to say your comment about God and your family, I could not agree with you more. So you seem to have all the right answers, but what's been the most rewarding aspect of motherhood?
I just think, like I said, being able to influence another human being, and you really get, Coach, such a small window of time if you really look at the course of a life to influence that life. And by the time your kids are teenagers, they're out with their friends, they're doing their own stuff, they're not really with you as much as they are now at 4 and 6 years old, and I'm acutely aware of that all the time. I try to make time, even in the midst of the chaos and the craziness, to dedicate to my kids, and I think that it is so important. I am typically the first person up at my house and the last person to go to bed at night. I will take the first flight out in the morning and the last flight back from a place, because it's so important for me to get back and be there for my children. I always want them to know Mom is always around. I always come back, and everything that I'm doing right now, obviously I'm doing for them, and I think they will understand that one day. But being able to really, I'll tell you, one of the most rewarding things is to see them interact with their grandparents, with my mom and dad, and with my father-in-law. And it's just amazing to think that these are the people who raised me, who raised my husband, and now they get to spend time with our children. And as any good grandparent does, my father-in-law the kids love to go see Grandpa, because he's always got candy or chocolate or something around, and then he hands them back to us, and he's like, good luck with these kids now that I've gotten them all sugared up. But it's so amazing. Nothing warms my heart more than seeing my kids with their grandparents. It's incredible. And obviously we lost my mother-in-law, Ivana, far too soon, and she's dearly, dearly missed. But the impact that she has had on my husband and that she had on me while she was still alive, certainly we are trying to translate that into our children as well.
Well, women in America today receive many conflicting messages. They're told that men can enter their private spaces, compete in their sports and traditional roles like homemaking and motherhood, and are often patronized. As a woman, how do you feel about these messages, and what would you like to convey to the women of America about being a woman?
Oh, there's nothing more powerful than being a woman. I say all the time that I have never felt more powerful in anything I've done than bringing 2 lives into this world. It's amazing. And look, we do live in an interesting time, Coach. We live in a time where, kind of to your point, you're seeing where everything is kind of getting grayed a little bit, and it's been very confusing for people. Oh, men can compete in women's sports. This sort of ridiculous notion, I think Americans are completely pushing back against.
Now to this new this morning, Attorney General Jason Miyares is pushing back against transgender students from participating in school sports.
The bill bans gender-affirming medical care for minors, allows teachers to ignore a student's preferred pronouns, and trans students from using the restroom tied to their gender identities.
A group of high school girls is facing backlash for daring to speak out against a biological male using their locker room.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and only ladies and gentlemen it is and shall always be.
A California kindergarten teacher is facing outrage after discussing gender identity with her students.
2 top transgender doctors are sounding the alarm and putting the well-being of children ahead of the left's radical agenda.
As the mom myself to a daughter who will become a woman one day, who already competes in sports, who I want to have every opportunity that she should have, the idea that we're going to just sit by and let these things happen, I think is completely ridiculous. I want her to be safe, and I want her to have every opportunity that she should have. No man should ever be taking that away from a young girl in sports. It's tragic to see some of the things that have happened. You think about the trajectory of a young woman's life who may have gotten a scholarship to go to a certain college, and what would that have done for the rest of her life, but for a man entering the sport and trying to compete as a woman. These sort of things are ridiculous. But what I want to say to women out there is we've got to stand up, and we've got to stand against this sort of stuff. You know, if we call it out when we see it and we do not allow it to go unchecked, then we will be able to move on past this. It's a very upsetting thing to know that we've gotten here as a society. It really does seem like right now we're in an era of common sense versus total lunacy on the other side, and common sense will always win. And it has to. Otherwise, what are we doing here, Coach? I just think that we need to be loud with our voices whenever we see something that we know is wrong, be unafraid in calling it out, because the more we do that, the more quickly we can move on past this completely ridiculous chapter.
Hey, amen. I agree with you 100%. I'd give you a standing ovation, except at 88, I have trouble standing up. But many of the people come on my show are athletes, and that includes you.
Yeah.
And despite your busy public life, why do you believe it's crucial to maintain a focus on athletes and sports, regardless how many demanding one's schedule becomes?
Well, I will tell you that sports have been a huge part of shaping who I am. I've played sports my entire life. And, it's whenever you have an athlete's mentality, Coach, I know I don't have to tell you this, you can pretty much get through anything. You know what you need to focus on. You know that no matter how much it might hurt in that moment, that pain will end the second you stop whatever it is you're doing. You've got to soldier on. You've got to go forward. I think that's the mentality that really was ingrained in me very early on in all the sports that I participated in. And it's very important to me now to continue doing things that it's really not even about the physicality of it so much as the mental necessity, I think, of exercise. And for me, every single day, I try to break a sweat in some way. I do a lot of different crazy things. I do triathlons. I do CrossFit. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I know. But I feel like it's so good. It resets my mind. It is sometimes, Coach, the only time that I get to myself in an entire day is if I go out on a run or a bike ride or I'm in the gym. That is my time. And I think we all need to make that time for ourselves. Everybody's life is crazy. Everybody's life is busy. Gosh, right now, people are having to work 2 and 3 jobs in many cases just to get by in this economy. You have to take even a little bit of time for yourself. And for me, that's what grounds me. That's what resets me. That is where I do my best thinking oftentimes. And so I'm so grateful that I had this foundation of sports and athletics at a very young age, and I'm trying to do that for my children as well. My kids play soccer. My son, by the way, thinks he's going to be a quarterback. He's only 6, but he wants to play no other position on his flag football team. So I'm just putting it out there. I may need to call you for some tips, just saying. They do jiu-jitsu, gymnastics. So they are going to have, I hope, this same sort of mentality when they get older and whenever they have to apply it to their lives. I'm so grateful for it. And it certainly is the reason I believe that I'm able to do the things I am today.
I agree with you. You know, I learned more on a college football field than I ever learned in a college classroom. I learned more in the military than I ever learned on a football field because you learn about being unselfish, subjugate your welfare for the welfare of others and your obligation to others. I've often said, you want to fail, you have the right to fail. You do not have the right to cause other people to fail because you don't do anything to the very best of your ability. You do not have the right to cause your teammates to fail because you don't do everything to the best of your ability.
Yep.
Now, Laura, you played a crucial role in both the 2016 and 2020 presidential elections. What stands out to you as different this time around?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think there's a lot that's different right now. I think that, look, what I said before, I think this past weekend, is that you have an opportunity right now to compare two presidents and two presidencies. You know, 2016, Donald Trump was an outsider, a businessman, a TV personality. People knew who he was, but he was often criticized as, oh, well, we don't know what'll happen if Donald Trump becomes president. And then he became president, and he did amazing things. I mean, you cannot argue with how much better off your life truly was when Donald Trump was president. You cannot like a whole lot of things about him, but you can't say that you weren't better off, because everybody was better off in this country. And the ability that you actually have right now to compare the presidency of Donald Trump and the presidency of Joe Biden, these are the two men running for president right now, is amazing. We've never in modern times had that opportunity. And so up until I think this weekend, I would probably have said that that's a big difference that we have right now. But I think it's so much bigger than that. I think that there is a spiritual element to a lot that's going on in this country right now. And again, you cannot look at the situation that happened with my father-in-law a couple millimeters and we'd be having a very different conversation right now. And it's terrifying, but I think God wants Donald Trump here. I think God needs Donald Trump here. And I think God is going to ensure that Donald Trump saves this country. And I think people feel it out there.
Fight, fight, fight has become the theme of this campaign moving forward. The crowd reacting to it each and every time, and now with Donald Trump standing before them. But Rachel Scott, who's on the floor and who has covered the Donald Trump campaign.
It's palpable across this country. Things are at a very different place, and I hope that what we're able to gain from this horrific situation is that people unify and they see him as a man. They see him not as some monster that the media has created, but they see him as a father, a grandfather, a man who, yes, if you shoot a bullet at him, it will hit him. And I'm so honored to be on part of this journey. I think the American people are ready to welcome Donald Trump back to that White House. And we're going to do everything in our power here at this convention and over the course of the next 4 months to ensure indeed that happens. But I think that you can feel how different the environment is right now in the United States of America. And I believe Donald Trump will be our next president.
Well, I have a strong faith in God. As my son always says, you want to make God laugh, you tell him what your plans are.
Yes, exactly.
I think the same thing here with President Trump now. The RNC and Trump campaign raised $70 million in the 48 hours after President Trump's verdict was read.
The campaign said this morning that it had raised nearly $35 million yesterday after the verdict from small dollar donors. The campaign says nearly 30% of those were contributing for the first time.
This had been some type of record. What can you say about these numbers? And what message do you think it sends?
Yeah, you're exactly right. This was amazing. This was historic. This was unprecedented. You've never seen fundraising numbers. These were low dollar donors. I think the average donation was somewhere around $70. So that tells you that the people of this country are behind Donald Trump. The 48 hours after his wrongful conviction, $70 million, and 30% of that money, Coach, came from people who had never once before donated to Donald Trump. First-time donors. And what we know is that even if you donate $1 to a political campaign, you are literally bought in. You are going to turn out and show up at the polls. You are going to go vote for that person. And so I think it just reawakened a lot of people in this country who maybe kind of were sitting on the sidelines, who were like, I don't know if I'm going to get involved in politics. They saw what was happening, not just to Donald Trump as a man, but really to our country in that wrongful conviction. And they said, we can't stand for this. We cannot allow this to go on in America. We're going to donate to his campaign. We're going to get behind this guy, and we're going to go vote for him because we have to right the wrongs that have happened in this country. And so we were obviously very excited with those fundraising numbers, but I think more so than the money it brought in was the overall spirit of everything that's going on. And it really is that there is momentum with Donald Trump. The wind truly is in his sails, and the American people really are behind him. And I think that's what they said the most.
I agree with you completely. And the thing about Donald Trump, and I know him pretty well, played golf with him, he's honest, he's caring, he's an outstanding person, he's personable as anybody in the world. Yeah, you may not like some of his tweets, and I don't either, but I love the man, and I would go to the end of the earth in order to help him. Now, we're getting down near the end of this. The last presidential debate had some very eye-opening moments. I believe many Americans were shocked by the cognitive abilities of President Biden.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What were your key takeaways, and what message do you think the debate sent to the American people?
Well, I think the key takeaways I had from that debate, I honestly, Coach, I'll tell you the truth, I didn't even think it was as bad as it truly was. I think it really showed the American people not just that Joe Biden's cognitive abilities are lacking, to say the least, not even that he is unfit right now to serve as president of the United States, which I think a lot of people believe. You look at the polling out there, it would reflect that. But I think the takeaway for a lot of people was, wait a minute, the media and the Democrats have told us Joe Biden is totally fine, that anyone who tries to suggest otherwise is lying to you. No. What the American people saw is that the Democrats as a party, these are people who knew how far gone Joe Biden truly is. They were lying to the American people, it would seem, in an effort to retain power, and that is frightening. We need transparency when it comes to the leader of the free world. We elected, and I didn't vote for him, but some people did, and he is the president of the United States, Joe Biden, to be in that White House. That should be the person making the decisions, and I don't think anybody is confident after watching that debate that Joe Biden is the person calling the shots in the White House for the United States of America and as the leader of the free world. It is a frightening thing to think, and it was a frightening realization, I think, to a lot of people. I got to say that debate, all the talk was about Joe Biden, but Donald Trump did an incredible job at that debate. So many people said, oh, how is he going to do? They had all the accommodations, of course, set up for Biden. And I think it was probably my favorite debate for my father-in-law. I think it was one of the great debate performances of all times. But I think what that did is it really shined a light in a very dark place, in a place that we needed, quite frankly, a lot more light. And it's that the American people have not been getting the full picture on a whole host of different things, whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's truly who Donald Trump is. They've lied to the American people about so much with Donald Trump, whether you want to start at Russia collusion, the Hunter Biden laptop, the Charlottesville hoax. It goes on and on and on. And all people needed was one little view into that, and they got it at that debate. And once you see it, I don't think you unsee it. And I think that was a big, big moment for the United States of America.
Very well said, and I agree with you. Who's making the decisions for this country? I know you're currently live from the RNC convention. Tell me about the convention. What do you have planned the next day or so? And I only have one more question after this.
Okay. No, look, it's been a really exciting convention so far. I think that our goal with this convention wasn't to just bring out celebrities and elected officials, which of course we have. We have some very exciting people still to come who I don't think you would ever guess would be speaking at our convention, but we really wanted to focus this on the everyday people of this country. So every single night of our convention, you'll see that we have kind of 3 to 5 minute speeches from everyday people. Our convention is about making America wealthy again, making America safe again, making America strong again, and making America great once again. Those are the themes for the days of the convention. And so every night we have people who could be your friends, your neighbors, people who in this country are struggling right now to talk about their stories and the way that they know we need Donald Trump back in that White House. So we're really excited. Obviously, it all wraps up on Thursday night with the great speech from our 45th and 47th President, Donald Trump. And we're going to have a big celebration here as we officially have now nominated him for our party to run for President of the United States. And so it's an exciting time. Tune in. You won't want to miss it. We're going to have a lot of good things yet to come.
I love JD Vance, but I asked myself, why didn't he pick you for vice president? I mean, you've handled this unbelievable. Now, as we close, the theme of my show is coaching America back to greatness. And what do you believe we need to do to restore the culture of this country? I'm an old man, and I've seen the culture of this country change. The values we had, the things that were important, no longer are important. What do we have to do to get back to the culture?
I think it's common sense. And I think that's why Donald Trump was so refreshing for so many people, really in 2015 when he announced he was running for president. It's common sense. And I think that when you look at a lot of what's gone on in this country, where you are defunding the police, but you are seeming to, give $80 billion to terrorists. Whenever you have an open border that is completely unsecured, it flies in the face of anything that anybody would believe is good for this country. Whenever you take away our energy independence, of course, you're going to see gas prices go sky high. Of course, you're going to see inflation follow that. The things that have happened in this country fly in the face of common sense and reason. And I think we really need to get back to some semblance of common sense. And then I think we also need to restore a love for this country. There is no bigger cheerleader for the United States of America than Donald J. Trump. Everybody in this country can agree that their life was made better by this man. He has no other goals, no other ambitions than doing that for every citizen of this country and restoring our patriotism. We have to love this country. We are so blessed to live in the greatest country on earth. Go anywhere else in the world, Coach, and you will always come back to America and say, wow, thank God I'm back here at home. This is the greatest place on earth. We are blessed to be here, and we have to remind people of that. And I think having a cheerleader like Donald Trump for this country is something that we are desperately in need of right now.
Well, I tell you what, I listened to your husband on a show last night. I want to say it was Hannity, may not have been. But in any event, he did a great job. But you tell him that Lou Holtz said he's a lucky dude. And I mean that sincerely.
I'm going to tell him.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with me. And God bless you. Keep
Thank
America
you.
safe. Keep President Trump and his family safe.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it very much. It's an honor.
Thank you.
And he walks away after winning his 100th game as the head coach here at Notre Dame.
The reason I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I was born in this country. It isn't what you have, it's what you're taught about the values of life.
We trying to save souls.
See, there's a rule in life that said you're either growing or you're dying.
And like an old friend once said, we as Americans need to start winning again.
Everyone should ask this question. Am I willing to endure the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice it takes to be a champion?